All right. So I'm going to talk a bit about something a little bit different, not kind of just reviewing the CD, but looking at different kinds of CD cases, jewel cases. And I talk about these a bit off and on in some of the videos I've made over the past few months, and kind of what I like and what I don't like, and so on and so forth. But just to kind of establish, I guess, what we're talking about here. So this is a Fatboy Slim album, Better Living Through Chemistry. And this is just your typical um, original CD jewel case, intact. Okay, so we obviously have the door on the hinge with the two intact arms, and uh, this thing here in the middle, which I've seen just by doing a little bit of reading before I did this, is called the hub, the central hub, with a little, I don't know what you call them, arms on it. Cheers, man. And this one is fully intact. None of these. Now, these are, as I'm sure you know if you're watching this, these things are always a little bit, they're delicate. I can push my finger on it fine without it breaking, but if I push too much pressure, it would snap off because they're kind of, it's like a lever and you can easily put pressure on it, it would snap here. And you have to be somewhat careful putting the CD, well, not putting it in. Putting it in is fine, but it's taking it out. Sometimes you can push down too hard and break them. And that's a problem because as this one is, this traditional intact case, it's fine because the CD stays in place. But if any of these, or not any of them, but if I'd say it's kind of usually over 50% of them are broken, then the CD starts sliding around. You get slidage, you get scratching then, don't you? Well, you get at least some kind of, whether it's cosmetic or deeper, it kind of damages the disc if it's sliding around against the plastic. You also notice that this has got the black backing, so it's not the transparent, clear, see-through case where you can see the back inlay. And in the 90s, you started. This was certainly when I first started buying CDs. This was typical black backing. But I read that they said from 1993 onwards. That might have been when they were first introduced. I wouldn't say it completely just changed overnight from black to clear, because this is a late 90s album, 96 or 98. Well, this was produced in 98. It was first released in 96. So this is from the late 90s, and we still have black backing. But from about 93, mid 90s onwards, you started seeing more and more of this style, which is exactly the same as this, but it is transparent. And so that gives the producer, whatever, the artist, a chance to kind of add artwork onto the back inlay as part of the kind of overall design aesthetic. And this is Asian Dub Foundation. Remember them? They seem to be quite big in the late 90s, but then you never hear anything about them nowadays. I'm sure they are still going. Actually, I saw on, what was it? What's the name of it? Like Indiegogo, but not Indiegogo. Kickstarter. There's another one like that, but it's specifically for musicians. Anyway, I bought something off there about, it would have been quite a while, 8 years ago now. And I was looking through some of the other artists on it, and Asian Dub Foundation were on that, I remember. So they're obviously at the point in the career where they don't have a record deal, and so they're trying to release things independently. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point is yes, here we have a transparent one. We can also see here the teeth on the little hub. On this one, they're kind of closer together. There's not as much space between the teeth. Whereas this one, this might just because it's transparent, and so it's kind of like an optical illusion. But to me, it looks like these are further apart, and they don't go in as far as this one. This one, they kind of go towards the center more. That gives more, what's the word? Is it leverage? When you've got like a lever and it's braced against something, and if it has longer lever part, it's easier to press down and get, what's the word? The word in physics that you, what's it, like basic physics? What is that word? Not pressure. Whatever. Jesus Christ. But in this one, they are shorter, and so you don't have the ability to push down as much because the lever, the handle aspect, because the lever would be the lower part, the handle part of it, or the part where you're pushing on, is smaller, so there's less pressure applied, and so they don't snap as easily. Because you did notice these kind of design changes in the cases throughout the years to kind of make them better, more durable. So yeah, these two are basically the same. A little bit of an update there, transparent black. But this is probably my favorite kind of CD case. Just the traditional kind. No big bells and whistles, but it does its job. It keeps the CD well protected if the hub teeth are intact. Once these are not intact, then we start getting issues. The other issue that these often have is the hinge, of course, that these things can break. And, you know, lots of the CDs I show that I buy secondhand, a decent amount of them are broken when you buy them. I guess another issue sometimes is these little, I think they call half moon tabs that we slide the booklet in and out from. That if the CD, the booklet is particularly fat, it can have a bit of trouble sliding in and out. But that's not really a jewel case issue. That's more of the artist or the record company should be cognizant of that and not producing these super fat booklets if it's in this kind of case. What's this one? I pulled out a bunch to try and show examples of things. What's this? Why did I show this one? Oh, this one. The reason I pulled this out is because this is gin blossoms. Remember the gin blossoms? This one I was trying to show. This one has fewer spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think. So maybe that was another design choice where they felt that if you took away more of these, you wouldn't be sacrificing stability, but you would be gaining a certain amount of strength in these because, again, the fewer you have to fail, the better. If you've got 12 of them here, then, you know, there's a higher chance that one of them is going to start breaking, and that often is like kind of a domino effect. They all start breaking. But if there's just 8, that removes, you know, 4 of the chances of failure. And again, it's kind of the leverage is a little bit in towards the disc edge, so there's not as much pressure applied downward to snap them, but it still does the job. So yeah, again, this one is it's kind of like an update from this, I feel. This one you can feel it. It just feels slightly, what's the word? Vulnerable to breakage. Whereas this one feels more secure. You don't feel kind of like you're going to break it every time you're putting it in and out of it. This, Foo Fighters, Echoes, Silence, Patience and Grace, is an example of a failed jewel case. Look, they're all snapped off there, or they're not. There's one that's kind of hanging on, but oh, okay, there it goes. There, it's 100% gone. They're all gone. So when was this released? 2007. Over the 16 years that this has probably been owned by someone, these have broken off. And, you know, like I said before, that then allows the disc to have a lot more movement. It's not a lot more, but it's more. It's moving somewhat, you know. And you could say, well, it's only going to be kind of the main contact is with this plastic center part, not actually with the data area of the disc, the shiny part. I don't know if that's. I think it still does have some contact, but not as much as this. But still, it just doesn't feel good. And sometimes, if this is kind of like this way, it'll be sitting upside down or like this, and you'll open it and it'll kind of spill out, you know, it hasn't held it in place. This one seems to be doing okay, but yeah, I never like to see that. It's just, yeah, it's annoying, isn't it, saying that? it has not done what it's supposed to do, and it's had a catastrophic failure. So there are some examples of just the typical, most well-known jewel cases, the ones that make up, at least from the 90s and the early 2000s, which is where the majority of my CDs are from, and the 80s. That makes up the bulk of the collection, those style. Then we start getting towards, I guess, maybe the late 90s that they first came, but certainly in the 2000s, we start seeing this. Here we have Random Access Memories by Daft Punk. And we have this new center hub spoke thing. It is not, it no longer is it, what do you call? I wish I had the words to use to describe these things. They're not just kind of floating freely, the little tabs, and allowed for, the pressure to fully push down upon them. Now they have a supporting spoke in the middle that very much almost makes it impossible. You would be able to break it if you were just a complete moron and you push it down as high as you could, but the average person, you're not going to be able to break that at all. It's almost completely protected. And I think that's a pretty great engineering development in the jewel case evolution. It's a shame that it came around so late, isn't it? Because like I said, this really came into being post 2000. If we had this in the 90s, it would have made a huge difference. You can see that spoke goes quite far down into the center. It's not just across the top. It's a thicker piece of plastic that goes right down to the bottom. So it's really offering a lot of support to the little teeth that are doing the work of holding the CD in place. Now you could say, well, we know that record companies don't want to be spending any more money than they have to on packaging, and that even that little piece of plastic added, the spoke in the middle, the bracing part, that's going to add some costs, and the costs add up. Yes, that's all true, but there's really no reason why they couldn't have developed that earlier. So yeah, a fair amount of my collection have this, and I always like to see it. It's a good feeling. It's a secure feeling. I feel like nothing's going to go wrong when I have one of these in the middle. Then, we've talked about this before. This has actually got a name. What was the name? So I was researching a little bit before this, and now I've probably could have lost it. I think it's like the Supreme Jewel Case or something stupid like that. Where is it? Super Jewel Case. Super Jewel Case. So here we have Metallica Death Magnetic, which actually I was listening to this recently, and I forgot how much I kind of don't like this album. But that's for another video. Now, what do we see? The development with this. This is kind of almost a complete, well, not a complete, but it's really kind of bringing the jewel case into the 21st century. First of all, the first thing you notice, it has rounded corners. No longer do we have these 90-degree sharp edges like we usually have. It's rounded. Now, I don't know, is there some sort of engineering principle behind that? Does that absorb some shock that when you drop a CD or something, that the rounded edges allow the hole to absorb the shock more efficiently, more aerodynamic for throwing? I don't know. But then the other kind of thing that we have here is it has a little button, a press button that actually keeps the case securely closed and only allows it to open when you depress the little tab, which has like kind of a very basic kind of locking mechanism there with a piece of plastic and there and there. So that's pretty big. Then we also see here the inlay of where the case is actually in the jewel case part. It's much deeper, and you have these kind of little, do we have these on there? No. Have these kind of little scoop depressed edges, so it allows you to kind of get under the CD. This center hub is also kind of taller, so again, it allows more security. Overall, it just feels like a more engineered whole. It doesn't feel kind of as throw together as some other jewel cases have. It feels much more like they've gone through and thought, okay, well, we know that this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, and they've taken away all those things. The only issue that I'd have with this is that they don't have the little half moon tabs on the upper and lower. Instead, they have them on the sides, but on the upper and lower, they have these kind of lips, plastic lips, that doesn't allow you to slide the booklet in and out. Instead, you kind of have to, not fold it, but kind of press it up so that it kind of rolls back. And so you're kind of getting more wear and tear on the booklet, possibly. Yeah. So the Super Jewel case, like I said, that I really remember that coming mid 2000s. By this time, the age of the CD was kind of already on the way out. It almost seemed like they were looking for any kind of way to entice buyers to physical product, physical media. But by the mid 2000s, they were fighting a losing battle, weren't they? But I've got a few CDs like this. I've shown a few in reviews I've done. Like I think the ones I remember, I've got a Florence and the Machine one that's like this, and a Plus 44 one, and a few others. Anyway, but I do like this. There's not much else to say about this, really. It's you can see what it looks like. So those are the plastic jewel cases that are all basically a variation of themselves, or a basic evolution. If we go from that to that, all the way through up to the super jewel case. Some people feel that these plastic jewel cases look dated and feel dated, which I don't agree with. Like, I do understand that the CD as a concept and as a what do you call it, aesthetic, iconic image. Like, you see this, and it's very much, well, not that. You see one of these, and it's and you think of the 1990s or the 1980s. I understand that, but I don't think the case in and of itself is dated at all. It's, hard plastic that protects the disc, which needs to be protected, and the booklet artwork. You have a hard plastic around it, like a shell. So then when we get to this kind of later 2000s and post 2010 up to the present, we move into this, frankly, shitty era of CD cases, where they've not entirely done away with the plastic jewel case, but more and more you're seeing artists, record companies, whoever, deciding to use a variation of one of these. I should show this first. This I think they call a slip case. Now, I don't really understand these. I've never understood them. They serve no purpose whatsoever 99% of the time. So what do we have? We have the artwork exactly the same, basically the same size, and the track listing exactly the same, except sans barcode, which is on the underside of it. These things just get damaged and are annoying because you don't just flip the CD open and close it to listen to it. You got to bloody slip this stupid thing off, and then it lies around and gets something sat on top of it, and it kind of flattens down. I don't understand why these exist. They don't serve any purpose, in my opinion, and they just are annoying. So that's, I think, is it a slipcase? Again, I did actually look through all these and try to get all the names right, because I've called a lot of these things other things over the years. But yes, card slipcase over jewel case. The extra card case used as promotion on many limited editions, although become quite common in latter years, features either a copy of the jewel case inserts or sometimes a completely different picture. Finding used CDs with these intact and undamaged is quite rare now. I wouldn't say quite rare, I'd say finding one undamaged is, unless it's some miracle, it's not happening. So if they had a completely different picture, I could understand, but they, more than often, they don't. Then we come to these, which I believe are called Digipak CD cases. The Digipak is specifically with the cardboard outer and the jewel case plastic inner with the hub. And we can see this hub here is a completely different design here. Well, not completely different, but we see it only has what we'd call the teeth. It only has 3 of them, but they're kind of actually 6, but they're integrated into a single thing. And then the central kind of spoke thing is a much thicker tri-type dealy. And then we got these kind of scalloped edges like we had on the Super Jewel case. This is Jane's Addiction, up from the catacombs. But we usually have a kind of a booklet in here, kind of like in a envelope type thing. That one's really stuck in there, Jesus. And this is an issue that I have with these, is that it's so easy to damage them. They're made out of cardboard. It's like a cereal box. You know, the thickness, it might be a little bit thicker than that, but basically not. And so the cardboard just gets damaged. At its best, you're going to find it hard to avoid getting these kind of dog ears, like a book would get, on the edges. And at worst, you know, you're going to get even more damage, like the completely folded in. So that's the Digipak CD case. Here's another Digipak. This is we'll see. I'll show you her face, and you might say, "Who's that?" That is Björk, and this is the Volta album. And this one has got a what do you call it? Top bottom hinge as opposed to the left right gatefold thing. So that's something a little bit different. And you got this kind of like open the gate. There's the CD, and that would mean that the booklet is in this part here, which again is sometimes hard to get out. I think it's actually harder to get out of these than it is to get out of the little half moon tabs on a jewel case. And because the other issue that we have is that paper and card, paper products stick together more easily, like this one and the one I just showed you, the Jane's Addiction one. It's fucking hard to get out, man. Because I'm not getting the booklets out a whole lot, you know. I'm listening to the disc, but I can't even get it out. I'm sure I can, but I'm going to damage it getting it out. And this is a perfect illustration of my point. Get out of it, you prick. Fuck it. Okay. I'm running out of time here, so I'm just going. So that's another Digipak CD case. Then we get to the more, what are they called? These ones are called card sleeve. Is that what they're called? Card sleeve. Anyway, the ones that literally there's no plastic on it at all. It's all card, and the CD slips in and out of the card, like so. Very unprotected. It can get scratched. I know you're thinking, well, it's only cardboard. It's not going to scratch it, but a scratch is a scratch. When shit's rolling in and out, it's going to get damaged. This is Com True's great album. This Galactic Melt. This was released in 2006? No, 2011. Jeez, my Roman numerals over. 2011. I thought it was a bit older than that. I'm sorry, a bit newer than that. But so that's that kind. This kind of card slip case. It's not even a slip case, is it? Well, I don't know what you call them. Just to show, Com True's is not a huge artist, but just to show you, this is Maroon 5 are a huge artist, or they were a few years ago. Same thing. So it's not just something small bands are doing. One of the biggest bands in the world 10 years ago doing the same thing. Straight in, no protection whatsoever. And that's the other thing. It comes through the other side. It can come through there. Look, see? It's just low quality shit, in my opinion. There's the booklet, slides in like an envelope. Just as a variation on this is Faithless. This one's got a slightly different one. We see here, you can see a part of the disc is exposed, and that allows you to kind of retrieve it a little bit better, but it's still getting scratched when you take it in and out. And then the booklet itself is actually glued to the card, so it's not a matter of getting it in and out. It's actually part of it. I actually probably prefer this style a little bit better than those other ones I've just shown. Double slip or double fucking whatever they're called, card sleeve. This side and this side. Booklet in the center. This is Icehouse, Australian band. And just finally, this is I think called a book style. I think. And it's like a little book. This is 40 Licks by the Stones. 2 discs. You got one at the front in this kind of envelope type thing, and one at the back, and a second one. And in the middle, you're going to go to the booklet. And it almost looks like a book, like a hardcover book. I do appreciate that the cover is harder and more durable and more protective than the typical kind of slipcase or fucking card sleeve slipcase. All right, that's my rant. Thanks for watching.